Afternoon, evening, morning, everyone. I'm Natalie Baugh, your host of It's All Light, and today's lucky guest is McKenna North.
Hey guys, how are you guys doing?
I'm excited to have McKenna here. She is just full of life and adventure and just such a hard worker, and I love her perspective on life. And today we get to tap into why she's the way she is, as well as how we can take more of that into our own life. So, Kenna, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I was born and raised in Rexburg, Idaho, and then moved to New Hampshire for all of high school. Um, After I graduated, I actually graduated a semester early, went to BYU for a
Nice.
year. When my family also moved to Utah, so they're all nice and close, before going on my mission to Armenia. And then after a long time, I finally just graduated with my bachelor's in biology.
Cool.
And now I'm probably going to get my MBA. So
Nice.
it's just a party over here.
Was dental school once in your plans?
Dental school was my plan for a
Yeah.
long time, hence the biology undergrad.
Yeah.
So I applied last year and I actually got in,
Nice.
and then I decided not to go.
Yeah. Life is always unexpected, right? And there's so much uncertainty too. But so a little bit of background, McKenna's been working in the dental industry, which I think my dad knows her because she helps like with these machineries and what do you call them? I'm butchering it.
I work with dental implants,
Implants. That's
but like
it.
a very
Like,
digital workflow with them.
yeah, yeah. So like training, helping dentists learn how to use these all over the country. So yeah, I remember loving hearing you talk about that because that's the field my dad's in and stuff like that. So what made you pivot?
Oh, that is a great question. So I just have to start from the beginning to tell this story. I think
Yes,
it's
yes.
important. Um, so I about a little over 4 years ago, had this very strong impression I needed to move to my parents' house in Heber, which was really weird for me because I have always had a very strict rule that I will never, ever, ever live at home. I could not do it. I also was an EFY counselor that summer, and the theme was trust in God, which was
Nice.
ironic because every Sunday before doing our little EFY actual week, we had a counselors meeting, and we always had a devotional on trusting in God and how we can better lean into trusting in God. And I was like, oh yeah, I totally trust in God, but
Yeah.
I'm still not moving home. So finally, after that summer of doing it, of doing EFY and always talking about actually leaning into trusting God, I finally gave in. Was like, fine, I will move home. A
Just those
week
little
after,
promptings gnawing at you.
oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Mm.
So about a week after I got home, or after I moved home, I actually didn't move into my parents' house. I moved to my grandparents' house. Made me feel a little bit better about myself. Um, but right after I moved home, I ended up getting this really random opportunity to work for a dentist, and all he does is dental implants. So I was an assistant for him for about 4 months, and I had no prior dental experience, but I loved working in dentistry. I loved my dentist all growing up. And after about 4 months, he let me know that this company had been acquired by another dental implant company, and they wanted me to be a trainer for them. So after 4 months, I jumped into teaching dentists how to place implants using our system. So then I did training with assisting for about another year. And sometime in there, I just had this feeling that I needed to go back to school, and I
Mhm.
really wanted to be a dentist. I just got really jealous of my boss.
Yeah.
And so there were a lot of things in there that I felt prompted to go back to school and to apply to dental school. So I ended up working full time and going to school full time for 3 years. Well, I finally finished up my undergrad, and I also applied to dental school, and I was so excited. I didn't
And this
apply
was
to
just like
a
last
ton.
year, right?
This was last year.
Okay,
So
sorry.
last year I applied to about 7 schools. I had 4 different interviews, and then my dream school I was accepted into,
Wow.
and I was so excited about it. But around this same time, I had broken my wrist
Ah.
trying to snowboard. Um, and I knew that if I had my own business and I was a dentist, I would not be able to work
Mhm. Totally.
for 6 weeks or however long it took for my wrist to heal because it was my right wrist.
Yeah.
So
And
that
my
was the
dad has to
biggest
be
point.
super careful what he does because
Yes.
I get it.
It's crazy that you have to be
Yeah.
so careful with the things that you do because if you injure your hands, like you
You're
are
out of
out of a
work.
job. And if I took out 500,000 in student loans and couldn't work for 2 months, that would be awful. So that
Yeah.
scared me a little bit. And then around the same time, I was like, honestly, what do I want? What do I want for my life?
Mhm.
What are my life goals? What makes me happy? And I was like, I love dentistry,
Mhm.
but ultimately, I just want to be a really good mom.
Yeah.
Like that, I had the most incredible mom who was so supportive. And if I was ever sick, she was always able to come pick me up from school. Or if I was having a bad day, she would be there and say, hey, yeah, let's skip school today and just like hang out.
I love that.
I just wanted to be able to be like that. So after I was accepted, I it took me a couple months, but I finally sent them an email saying, "Hey, I appreciate the acceptance, but I will not be attending your school
Wow.
in the fall." So I would have started a couple of weeks ago. Had to move to Arizona and been at the most incredible school um, that I have done any research on in the United States. But
Oh,
here we are instead.
wow. So are you still working at that dental implant company?
I'm still working at that dental implant company
Okay, cool. And you'll continue in that until next steps show themselves.
until the next steps show themselves. Yep,
Wow. Okay, well, there's a little peek into McKenna's life.
here's my life.
So you live in Vineyard and you're just working full time now. And yeah, we're gonna do a question of the day. I know we kind of skipped the intro, but if you could eat a certain food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Ice cream,
Yeah, what
easy.
flavor? All right, let's assume you can have all the flavors, but what's your favorite?
My favorite flavor, I think for the most part, is like a peanut butter cup ice cream,
Mm. And do you like
like
ice cream
Moose
versus?
Tracks or stuff like
Oh,
that.
Moose Tracks is great. And do you prefer ice cream over gelato?
Oh, absolutely.
Really? Does Armenia have good ice cream?
No, they
Really?
actually had terrible ice cream. It
Interesting.
was like frozen whipped cream.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the first thing when I came home, I was like, I just want chunky, good, like Ben and
Thick.
Jerry's ice cream.
Yeah. So a few of her friends in Armenia were friends I had in high school, and like some of the members I taught in my mission were Armenian, so I learned a little bit about the Armenian culture, which is fun. But Russia sometimes had really good ice cream, but they definitely had that whipping cream ice cream too. That was awful. But other times they had pretty good ice cream. So I'm
Oh,
curious because they're
that's lucky.
similar.
I am obsessed with ice cream, so it's really hard not having it.
Yeah. Oh man. I buy the mini Trader Joe's ice cream cones and have like one a day. It's because they're so small and it just like satisfies all your cravings. So it's just perfect. So yeah,
They're perfect.
I love ice
When
cream.
a couple years ago, me and my roommate, they were having like 50% off of Ben and Jerry's.
Ooh.
So we had probably 20 Ben and Jerry's in our freezer
20? Oh
and
my
we ate it
gosh.
every single day for a week.
Holy cow.
Every night for dinner, we'd get together and just sit on the couch and eat our Ben and Jerry's and it was
Wow.
glorious. I don't know if I could do it again. I think I'd be a little sick of it,
Yeah.
but
No, I've had ice cream like on family trips, we always go to the same ice cream place like every day for a week in McCall, Idaho. Ice Cream Alley. Shout out to if anyone knows it. But yeah, after a few days, you start to get sick of it. But like at the same time, if you mix up flavors, I don't know,
it's
it's just
totally
it's
fine.
just
Here,
good.
that was our problem. We only got tonight dough. We didn't get any other
Uh,
flavor. So it was tonight dough for an entire week.
but that one is good.
It is probably the best one.
So with that being said, let's learn a little bit more about like what you light up about. So besides ice cream.
Besides ice cream.
Yeah.
That is a great question. I feel like there's a lot of things that I light up about, but the biggest one I've realized recently is just being happy in every circumstance.
Mm. Yeah, we hear that a
Because
lot. But yeah, tell us more.
I just think that with the different, I mean, I told you a little bit about like moving around and not having things work out the way that I had planned on them working out.
Mhm.
I used to think when I was younger that I wouldn't be happy or I wouldn't be content until this happened. Like until I got my dream job, until I got married, until I had kids,
Mhm.
until whatever. So I was always looking forward to that.
Yeah.
But over the last year, just with actually last several years, just with things not working out the way I thought they would, I've just realized how important it is to choose to be happy right now.
Mhm.
even though whatever I may be going through is hard. Actually, let's say not happy. Be joyful. Experience joy through Christ.
Right, because you can
Um,
still be joyful even in hard times.
yes,
Yeah.
but letting yourself be joyful in the moment and not saying, "Oh, I can't be happy. I can't be joyful now because I don't have this thing that I really, really want."
Mm. Yeah. That is hard. Like, it's easy to hear, and I'm like nodding. I'm like, yeah, we hear that a lot. But like, when you're in the thick of it, to actually apply it's like so hard. Like sometimes when I have a food baby, I'm like, oh, it'll be so nice to actually have this be a real baby one day. And then I just
Hmm.
like pause and like, okay, I'm not there yet. Like, what are the steps I need to do to get there? And like I can enjoy not having to worry about kids, because being a mom is so much work, and like I'm trying to just remember all the things I can do because I don't have kids, or I'm not even married. But yeah, it's just what helps you remember this, like in the thick of it.
I think so. When I was first home from my mission, I remember my uncle came up to me and he's like, "McKenna, all the fulfillment you felt on your mission," he said, "you will never feel that again
Mm.
until you are married and have kids."
Oh.
And I was like, "Oh my goodness, he's right." And I thought that for like a year. I was like, "Oh, he's right. I will never have the same fulfillment as I did on my mission until I have kids and I have an eternal family." Which at the time I was like, "Oh yeah, this is great." It's like, here are my goals. But then when I wasn't married after you're getting home from my mission, like all of my companions and my family and friends were like, "Oh yep, you're gonna be married within a year." Everyone hears that. I was like, I have to figure something else out. Like, what makes me happy? Um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and it could be like developing hobbies. I go through hobbies really quickly. I should probably stick with them more often. Um,
Who's to say that though? I mean, I have a lot of hobbies too, and I think if you go back to Leah's episode on creativity, there's like no harm in having so many hobbies.
that's true. That is true.
We just tend to gravitate toward which one we actually want to keep.
Hmm.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
But just
Sorry.
finding no, but just finding like other things that make me happy
Mm-hmm.
to where even if I'm struggling, if I'm feeling stuck or lost or anything like that, I can go back to, hey, I have these things that bring me joy and make me happy. And a lot of those things for me have been like doing something outside, or I don't want to say like sporty because I don't do sports. I wish I could, but my hand-eye coordination just doesn't exist. But like going hiking or going camping or
Mm-hmm.
things like that, getting outside and just really appreciating where I'm at in life and where I'm at in this world and recognizing what God has done around
Mm-hmm.
me, what he can do through me still
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, all those
is great.
points. Yeah.
I know
The
that was like a lot to just like a jumble. And sometimes it's hard to remember those things, but every time I get outside and I go on a walk or anything like that, I'm like, oh yes, God is real. He is aware of me, and I'm so grateful for him for where I'm at in my life, even though I may not be where I expected myself to be.
Totally, totally. I think right now in my life, in parallel to that, for me, it's a lot of okay, how do I accept that uncertainty? But like you said, when we go back to the foundation, it helps us be okay with with the uncertainty, because everything in life is uncertain, right? But for those listening, I like what McKenna said. What makes you happy or what brings you joy? And start there. Like we always have to know that foundation. So what else makes you happy? You said getting outside, but what are some other things of your go-tos when you're needing to remember when life takes a different turn?
So I love going outside. Like I said, the other thing when I am feeling like emotional, either really good or really bad, I love playing the piano. I'm not good at playing the piano at all. I have like two songs I memorized when I was 12.
Mm-hmm.
But those are still my go-to songs. And I'll just go and I will just play the piano for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And that just makes me so happy, just so grateful for, I guess, my mom who forced me to take piano lessons all growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And for the
Yeah.
opportunity that I have to make music and create something that way.
Yeah. Moving your body, getting creative. I think it's
Mhm.
like music. Like I sat down and played the piano yesterday too, and it had been a minute. And I'm the same way. There's like maybe 3 songs that I like had to perfect. And so now I can like see how fast I can play them still out of memory. And like, I don't know, something in that just releases in yourself either a sense of calmness or getting things out. And it's a form of grounding probably. I feel like it all goes back to like what grounds you, and even if that's just walking outside barefoot for a second.
Mhm. I remember there's been a couple of times where I just was frustrated about something. And I went and I was starting to play this song, and I was playing it very angrily on the piano. But about halfway through the song, and then towards the end of the song, I was like, oh, I just am going to play it pretty. And it feels good. I feel lighter. I feel happier. I feel like
Mm.
I've just released all of my emotion into this piano. And it did not deserve that. But I released all my emotion into it, and I just feel so much better, even though it's not like I talked through or my situation changed at all.
Yeah. This reminds me of I only heard the recaps, but Tony Robbins spoke at the Silicon Slopes Tech Summit, and I need to go back and like learn more of the things he talked about. But a few of the takeaways my friend was sharing with me was all about energy and the energy we put into our lives. I think I'm going to pull him on the podcast and have him like go through his notes and we'll get like a cliff notes of his
That would be
speech.
so
But
cool.
like what you just said kind of explains energy. Like you were like, "Oh yeah, I put all that anger into the piano," and like piano's not real, piano doesn't care, but like the energy is real and the energy giving and taking from pounding on the piano keys is real and like what energy that transfers into your life and like the energy you live your life, like certain frequencies. Paisley also talked about this, like there's frequencies in what you say with the manifesting, but just the energy you present your life in. And I wish I knew more about the Tony Robbins thing, but I feel like your energy is something people notice about you. And I think that's because you're tapping into these things that makes you happy. Hmm.
Hmm.
Do you have any thoughts about energy?
I'm not, um, I guess, as into feeling energy or like crystals or things like that. That's usually what I think of when I hear that.
No,
But
right.
but um, I remember I was talking to my brother. So my brother recently came home from his mission, and his state president had him go around and just say the things that he loved or the Christ-like qualities he loved about each of us. And when he came to me, he's like,
Oh,
McKenna, I just love how joyful you are, how genuinely joyful. And I was like, man, I don't feel joyful right now. Like where I'm at in life is not where I wanted to be. And there are times like with dental school, where I'm like, oh, did I make the wrong decision in not going? Like, should I have gone? Should I be doing something different? Should I don't know. I just feel at a place in my life where there's a little bit of turmoil that way.
yeah.
Um, but I do think that how you think of yourself and how you present yourself is reflected in your mindset. So let's say that I am having a crummy day. But if I go and I put on my makeup, I do my hair, and I wear something that I enjoy wearing, and
Mm,
I go out and I'm like, yes, I am going to have a great day, then I do, even though it may be a crummy day or I may not be in a great place at that time. It
mm-hmm.
is still a great day just by putting forth effort and saying, yes, I am going to have a great day. And it's okay to have bad days. I think that's important to know. It's okay to have bad days. You should have bad days. You should experience a full range of human emotion.
Yeah.
God did not just say, hey, be happy all of the time. He just wants us to feel joy all of the time, which comes through him. But we should be angry. And it is okay to be angry at God. It is okay to be frustrated with him. It's okay to yell at him. I'm sure he will take it and he loves it because it means we're still relying on him. We're still keeping
Mm,
those communication paths open.
that's a good point.
Um,
Yeah.
and it took me a long time to get to that point because I thought that you had to be happy to be Christ-like. I thought that you never had to have issues or you had to overlook all of your other emotions to be like Christ.
Or like to be the
Not
most
true.
peaceful person, right?
Yes. But Jesus flipped tables. So, like,
Yeah. No,
I
he
can
was
be angry. He
stern.
was angry.
He said, "Get behind me, Satan," to Peter. Like, I don't know. Yeah, it's good to remember, like you said, the emotional spectrum of being a human, right?
Yes. So it's good to feel emotion. It's healthy to feel all of those emotions, and you should go through it. But I think that if you put into the universe or you say, hey, I'm struggling, but I want it to be a good day, you
Mhm.
can make it a good day just by the little things you do, even
Yeah.
though it may not be the best day. It'll still feel like it was a good day.
Yeah. That's something I've been thinking a lot about lately. Like, I feel like I've segued into not just bad days, but yeah, bad moments. And like overall, it's like, yeah, it was a fine day, and nothing great happened or nothing horrible happened or something bad happened. So it was an okay day. But like a rock hit my boyfriend's windshield when we were driving. And I was driving and it was this big mark, and I just like he was super angry at first and I'm like, yeah, I'd be angry too, but part of me is just like ready to move on, like be a goldfish, right? Like 10-second memory and just move
Mm-hmm.
on. Like it was out of your control. But like for him, he had to process it differently. And I knew I needed to just let him be angry about it. And yeah, eventually I just like gave him some space and then eventually I just turned my music back on and just, was in my own little world singing and he did whatever. But what were you going to say? It looked like you had something to
Oh no,
say.
I love the 10-second memory of a goldfish so much.
Ted
I
Lasso.
think
Thank you very much.
I know. I dated a guy a couple years ago who was not someone who just let things roll off his back. He like held on to me. He would be angry about it for a little bit. And I'm not that way.
Yeah.
I'm definitely something bad happens to me. Like, well, that kind of sucks. That's hard, but like, I have zero control over this situation. So why would I spend my energy
Hmm.
in caring about this situation when there's literally nothing I can do?
Yeah.
Which is easier said than done
Oh,
sometimes.
yeah.
But for the most part, if something bad happens, like, well, that is kind of terrible, but we're moving on.
Yeah.
And I remember there just were a couple of times where my old roommate, when we were living together, there just would be bad things that would happen. And we would just start laughing at each other. We're like, wow, what are the odds of this happening? Like this is just a funny situation and we
Mm,
have no control over it. And it's great.
yeah.
Um, so, yes, process your emotions, but I also think it's important to remember that we can't control everything and that's okay. And we can just let it go and we can just move on and not spend our emotion or any of our energy um, in caring about that situation and carrying it with us for
Yeah.
the next couple minutes or even next couple of days.
Yeah. In my head, I hear the voice of the muse in Hercules when the guy is at the very beginning telling the story and she was lighten up, dude. Like that plays like through my head a lot. And I'm hoping I can establish better ways to cope with like frustrations at work or like there's just moments sometimes where I just get so frustrated and luckily I have people I can turn to and just like lay out all my frustrations, and like just getting it out helps. And then like honestly it takes a hike, it takes a walk outside. Sometimes it does take distracting myself on TikTok or just to get your mind out of that headspace. I feel like that distraction's a double-edged sword, right? Like it's an addiction too, but also like sometimes if it doesn't matter that much and you should just move on quickly, it's helpful to segue into better vibes. Music brings a lot of good mood.
I
Yeah.
have a playlist called Lake Day.
Ooh.
Because in when I was putting this playlist together, I just went through my liked songs. I'm not like a make a playlist kind of person, but I was like, I
Okay.
need a playlist that just makes me happy. So I went through all of my liked songs and I said, okay, if I was wake surfing right now and this song came on, would I be super excited about
And
it?
like pumped and dance and go crazy.
Yes. And
Yeah.
so that is my entire Lake Day playlist. And there are lots of songs that need to be added to it. But when I am having kind of a crummy day, that is the song I play because I can't help but smile and
Mhm.
just like belt it when I'm
Yeah.
singing in my
Yeah.
car when those songs come on. So
Used to have like
music.
a pick it's literally called like my pick me up playlist or something. I think it's pretty outdated now, but I bet it would be funny to hear the songs that like helped me when I was like 22.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, sometimes it just like in a mood where you don't want to do it the most is when you probably should do something the most. Like for this instance, like dance or turn on a happy song. Like sometimes we like to just sulk, like if something crummy happens and you have to pay for it and it was out of your control, like a rock chip window or I don't know, dropping your Owala and it gets a dent,
Oh,
like
Mhm.
I've done that so many times, or a crack on my phone, that I've just learned to just be like, "Oh, well," like, it really doesn't matter, and I don't know, but, like, for the bigger things in life, though, it takes a lot of practice. Like, I don't know, what for the bigger things, what helps you?
For the bigger things in life, I need a solid sounding board.
Sounding board, so you have your go-to
So
people.
I have a couple go-to people that I'm like, "Hey, I am struggling with this. I just need to talk it out." My mom is one of those people. My mom and my sister.
Good.
Um, but there are ones where like if I'm struggling, I will just call and be like, "Here's what's going on. Like, I'm
Mhm.
struggling with this, or this is bothering me, or
Or venting,
this
yeah.
is preventing something from happening." And for the most part, I don't want their advice. I just want them to listen to me.
Mhm.
And sometimes I'll say, "Mom, it's okay if you say that I'm overthinking. It's okay if you say I'm crazy because I get it." Um, there's other times like, "Mom, I
Yeah.
just need to know that I'm not going crazy. Like I need to know that these are
Okay.
all legitimate concerns and I'm not just dumb."
Hmm. The validation, yeah.
Mm.
So
So as
then
long as I have
from
a solid sounding board, I can get through anything.
so then
I
from there,
know it.
what do you do after that?
Honestly, just talking it out afterwards, I'm like, okay, I feel so much better.
Mm.
Like that takes care of it for the most part. And there are times where I need to go back and revisit things with them
Mhm.
because it comes back up. Um, but for the most part, just having them as a sounding board to
Hmm.
make sure I don't feel like I'm going crazy makes
Yeah.
a world of a difference.
I like that. You also mentioned just when you were listing what your passions are, and you said living simply and with intent rather than hurry or habit. And I wanted to tap into that. So in the mixes of things you can't control, you have your sounding board, but like what are things you can actively do to live simply and with intent? And I thought it was interesting you said rather than hurry or habit. I want to pick your brain on all those things.
So a couple of years ago, I saw this quote, and it says, "Live less out of habit and more out of intent." And I
Mm.
actually wrote it down, and it's in my house. Oh, I think it's just in my hallway.
Mm.
But it used to be in my bedroom right next to my mirror, so I'd see it every
Hmm.
morning. And
Yeah.
the biggest reason I liked it in the beginning was because I thought about the gospel and how living a Christ-like life is not living out of habit. Like I don't pray to God out of habit. I don't say, "Heavenly Father, please bless the food that will nourish and strengthen my body," and that I will have a good day today, and just the same thing every single time. It's more about thinking about what I'm doing and making sure it has intent behind it, and I'm not doing it just
Mm-hmm.
to do it.
Hmm.
And there are times where I think that doing it out of habit is just fine. Like it's probably better to do it out of habit than it is to not do it at all.
But there's like a
But I
difference
want to make sure that
between,
I'm doing it out of choice.
yeah, there's like a difference between a routine and a habit. Like, yeah, you can pray every morning and that's your routine, but the
Hmm.
habit could be saying the same thing every time. Bad or good habits. Okay, that makes sense.
Yes. And then after thinking about that for probably a year or two, I eventually started seeing in other aspects of my life
Mm.
where when I go to work in the morning, do I go to work and just sit there all day? Or do I go to work and I say, yes, I'm going to try to be productive. I'm trying to, build relationships with my coworkers. I'm trying to do these things. And then when I get home, do I come home and do I just, sit on the couch and watch Netflix because I just am tired and I don't really want to do anything else? Um, and things like that kind of build up to
Mm-hmm.
where over the course of, a year or however long, like how much time am I spending watching like an episode of TV? Or how much time am I spending um like sitting on my phone when I'm on the toilet or
Mm.
like other random things like that. Like how much time am I wasting with my life because I'm not choosing to do things with intent. I'm just living out of habit or out of um a
Hmm.
poorly planned routine.
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like it is easy to fall into, okay, it was a long day. I do want to just go watch a show on Netflix and get ready for bed and go to bed, right?
Mhm.
So I think in some days that's okay. So how do you not fall into that habit of happening every night?
That's the hard part.
Mhm.
Um,
Because it's good sometimes, right?
oh, I think it's great sometimes. Sometimes that is just good for the soul and you need it.
Yeah.
But when I'm doing it because I don't want to make plans or I don't want to have to figure out something else to do, that's where it becomes a problem. So
Yeah.
I need to be
Or
actually I have been better about it over the last little bit.
mhm.
Um, but I'd made a list. I was like, what are some things that I enjoy doing where if I have extra time, I can spend on that instead. And so
Yeah.
one of those things is that's on my list. I haven't done it yet because I still need to get like the piano books because I don't really have any to learn.
Yeah.
But one of the things like playing the piano, I'm like, yeah, I can go and I have a piano in my house. So I can go play it for 5 minutes
Mhm.
or for an hour, like however long I want to. It's not something that takes a set amount of time. Or there is going for walks. Like
Mhm.
it's way better for me to go on a walk and listen to a book or even listen to a TV show instead of just sit on my butt on my couch
Mhm.
watching my TV show.
And walking is just so beneficial in so many ways. Yeah, that's something I've been trying to just get out and do more of. Yeah.
Mhm.
I listened to a sorry, you were about to say something? I
No,
listened
no,
to a
no, go for
podcast.
it.
It was talking about like a flow, like the 5 a.m. flow, and like the first thing you do, just get out and go trail run, which if you ever want to do, it's dark at 5 a.m., but we could do it together. Anyways,
Done.
but then he was saying like there was like 7 things you could do, and one of them was disrupt your flow. Like if you never read books, make reading a book your priority every day or something. Or I don't know what his other examples were, but it's like disrupt your flow. Like just start doing something you've always wanted to do but have never done, and that will kind of just shake up your perspective on life. So it's fun to think about what are those things you could start doing.
I love that. I should make another column that's things I want to learn how to do instead of just things I
Yeah.
can't do.
I always have wanted to learn the guitar, and it's like, okay, when am I going to make time for that? Like maybe I do that 10 minutes before my Netflix show, like, or
Huh?
reading. Like, how am I going to make time for reading? And like the things that feel more important than a Netflix show when you add up all the time you've spent in certain technology or distractions on Instagram or whatever.
Or there's even little things like meal planning. Like the amount
Yeah.
of time I spend in front of my fridge or in my pantry every day is astronomical because I'm trying to think of something to make because I didn't meal plan.
Yep. My
Whereas
boyfriend
if I
literally
had
just
meal
texted me
planned,
saying, "Hey, is that fish that's in my fridge like is it bad yet? Like are you going to cook it?" And I'm like, you're right." Okay, sorry, keep going.
yeah. No, but if you take the time and actually meal plan and purchase groceries for that meal plan, then every single day it's like, oh yeah, I take 2 seconds, pull the stuff out that I need, and spend however long I want making
Mhm.
dinner.
Yeah.
But that is just something that's off my mental load every day. It's not something that I'm just wasting
Yeah.
time
Where did
worrying about that I don't need to worry about.
I wish I remembered where I saw this. Sometimes during conference to stay awake, I would scroll through Pinterest. And I feel
Mhm.
like I saw that somewhere where it was just like time wasters of your day. And it's like the meal planning thing. It's like that can save you an hour of figuring what to eat when you took an hour and saved 7 times that 1 hour every day figuring what you're eating. And I think sometimes for me, it's hard to have a set thing every day. But like if I just like make a ton of food on Sunday and then just can have it throughout the week, that helps. And eventually it'll be nice to like actually plan and have tacos on Tuesday and pizza on Friday. Like it's the
The
ultimate goal, right?
yes, the first time I really heard about that was last year when Elise Myers was like, "Hey,
Oh, yeah.
I first of all I love her. She's great. But she was talking about how she has like very specific like hyperfixation meals that she does
Mm,
or clothes that she wears. She's like, yep, I just wear like these same outfits all the time because I don't have to worry about it because thinking about what I'm going to be making for these meals or what I'm going to be wearing every single day just stresses me out sometimes when I'm already overwhelmed.
yeah.
And I never really thought
Hmm.
of it that way before of, oh yeah, these little decisions that I have to make every single day can sometimes just be not they can be overwhelming, but for me, like they're just too time consuming. Why would I want to spend all of my time doing that?
Ah,
I was listening to this book recently and it's called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry.
the
I've actually
ruthless
listened to it.
elimination of hurry.
Mhm,
Okay. I feel like someone, it probably was you, mentioned this to me
probably.
before. Okay.
I literally am obsessed with that. I listened to it twice in the last month and a half. Um, and the gist of it is simplifying our life, knowing that we need to live a slower paced life that is more Christ-like and not as fast paced or keep up with the Joneses or
Mm.
um, just constantly comparing yourself to other people. It's no, this is my life. What do I want to do with my life
And your time in your life.
and my time?
Yeah.
And one of the things he said in it, I don't remember exactly how he phrased it, but the gist of it was, I'm so terrified that however many years from now, I'm going to look back on my life and wonder what I did.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, no, it's
I
kind of a
felt like
scary
that a little bit
thought
now.
too, right? Or people
Yeah.
on deathbeds, it's never, I wish I had worked more. I wish I had done this more. It's like, I wish I just would have spent time with my family. Like we
Hmm.
spend so much time with our coworkers just out of our culture and like needing to provide for our lives. But you're so right to just keep those questions in mind. Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Or even like actually spending your time developing closer friendships instead of just going out and meeting a ton of people, but not ever developing good relationships with them.
Yeah, just going deeper, going back to like living with intent and simply. So, the correlation, what would you say, living simply and intent? Do you think when you have your intent clarified, it helps you figure out the simpler things to be doing with your life? Like, it is simpler to meal plan instead of scrambling for food. I don't know. What else would you say along those lines?
Yes. Um, I think that when you live with intent, you know what your not necessarily your goals. You can have your goals, but you know what it is you want
Hmm.
from your life.
Hmm. You know
You know
what
the
you
kind of
want.
life that you want to have in the future. And you may not have very specific goals of, oh, I want to learn to do this or I want that in my life, but it's no. This is the idea of how I want my life to be
Or the kind of person you want to be.
or the kind of person you want to be. And it
Hmm.
allows you to cut out so many things from your life where you're like, yeah, that does not support the lifestyle I want. That does not support the kind of person I want to be. That doesn't help me become more Christ like, or that doesn't help me develop better relationships with people.
Yeah.
And I
I'm
think
like,
that helps so much because there are things where I don't know. There are times where I look on social media and I'm like, man, look at this person and they're going to all these parties and they're going and doing all these things and look at how many friends they have. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not out partying every night. I'm not out doing whatever. I am home working on homework or spending time with one or two friends or with my family or things like that. And there are times that I think, oh, I am lesser than because of that.
comparison,
But
yeah.
then I have to take a step back and say, no, do I want what do I want from my life? Do I want to have solid relationships? Do I want to have really close friends? Do I want, to spend my time doing these things? Or do I want to go out and spend my time doing these things and partying and, you know, I don't know, all the things that go along with that.
Yeah, we have a choice, right? Like, and I think you figure out where you naturally want to go. Like if going to parties and being social fills your cup, then yeah,
Go for
you
it.
make a priority for that. And then you have to counteract it too and make sure you have that balance. Otherwise, you lose some deepening relationships and who you spend your time with. And there's always friends texting back and forth for months saying, "Oh, we need to get together. When are we going to get together?" And like for it to actually happen, what are those steps being done? And to make time for things that we say are important to us, but we forget to make time for. And yeah, this is the
Yes.
the life battle. I feel like it's so good we talk about it again and again and again because we always need these reminders.
Hmm. And it's not to say that there are things that like you can't do because it doesn't fit into what you want from your life goals. Like
Mhm.
I love going to parties. I think it is so much fun. Am
Mhm.
I going to party hop every night of the week? Nope. I have zero desire. I could not emotionally or physically handle that.
Right.
But I love going to a good party every once in a while. Like I am all for that. But you just pros and cons, just live life in balance with intent. Like yes, this is what I want and this may not fit into what I want from my life plan 10 years from now, but it will bring me joy, it'll make me happy, and that's okay. That is so good to do. Just make sure that you are aware of it, I guess.
Yeah. And there is a difference between just like fleeting moments of happiness. I read a quote about that. I wish I had it right on me. Maybe I'll post it on my Instagram if I find it. But just like, are you living for fleeting moments of happiness or are you cultivating like long lasting moments of joy? And that just feels more fulfilling in your life at the end of the day. Okay, so be thinking about today's episode, or if you have a favorite quote we haven't shared yet, and we'll talk about our uplifting takeaway and conclude today's episode.
I love it.
I'm trying to think of all the things we talked about today, like what kind of struck a chord in me. Hmm.
We went over a few things.
Yeah.
We hit a lot.
I think for me, it's maybe making a list of the habits I have that aren't serving me. Like getting on my phone too much, watching Netflix. I think like daily sometimes. Like I'm like, oof, I really do like turn on a Netflix show, and to relax and wind down, and it feels like a purpose, but it's like, okay, is that really serving me or going on Instagram? So I think for me, I'm gonna make a list of all the things that I'm doing now that aren't what I want for my future and then try to start eliminating one by one. What
Mm-hmm.
about you?
Oh, it's just all been good reminders because I wholeheartedly believe in everything that we talked about, but there are times where I forget. I'm human. We're all
Oh,
human. I
yeah.
just forget. Um, and I actually forgot about that list until we were talking. I was like, oh yeah, I made that list, and I need to pull it out again and make
Yeah.
another list of things that I want to learn how to do
Yeah.
instead of things I can do to fill my time more effectively
Yeah.
or with more intent.
You're like, you shy away from it because there are so many hobbies you could do. So it's like, why add more? But at the same time, it's like, but it's fun to try something new. So it's like not a bad thing. And you can still have, like, still go play the piano and maintain that hobby.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's true. You also mentioned in the forum, Heavenly Father never intended us to be busy. He invited us to find rest with Him. I think
He
that
did.
that just reminds me what everyone around me in my life tells me is slow down, and I think if we slowed down a little bit, like sometimes my frustrations are at work are because I just type everything that's in my mind and I'm asking all these questions and that causes just chaos, right? But if I like slowed down and tried to, find things on my own before asking questions or making a plan before doing certain things, then for everyone across the board, it's easier in a career sense, but also in my relationships too, and just that rest. I love that. Busy is not good ultimately, right?
It doesn't fill your soul. Being busy does not, at least it doesn't fill my soul, and I don't think I've met anyone that being super busy just fills their soul and makes them feel at rest.
I think I feel like it does sometimes because I'm busy with so many things I love that it's like, yeah, I love this. I'm doing this and this and I love it. But there are definitely times where it's like I'm so busy and then I just start distracting because I'm stressed and then it's just like all my time's wasted and not effectively used or doing what I want. So it
Or you get to the
falls.
end of your week and like, how much time did I actually spend with God this week?
Yeah.
Or was I trying to fit too much in?
Yeah. One of these days I want to be proud to look at my screen time on my phone.
Someday that is the goal.
Oh, and then we just justify so much of it too. It's like, oh, I was on my phone
Oh,
listening to
100%.
this. My like maps are always on background. So it's like things add up, and so you justify it. But I'm like, oh, one day it'll be like 2 hours, and that's still a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think I
There
fell
was, I
asleep
don't
thinking
even
about
remember
this.
in that same book, he was like, the amount of time that people spend on their phones, like on social media, they could have become an expert in a subject.
Mm, like 10,000 hours
It
expert.
was like every year. Mm-hmm.
Oof,
I was
oof.
like, oh.
See, that's scary. Speaking of October, spooky. That's spooky to me, and I definitely know I'm captive in it. Like I'm an avid phone user. Okay, time to reevaluate, make my list, look at my screen time, and probably start tracking it. Get some app limits set with a code my friend has. Like those app limits,
Oh, I love that.
when you don't know the code, they work.
I know my code, and so some days it doesn't work, but that's
Yeah,
brilliant. I love that.
just find an accountability friend and do that. Okay, thank you so much for your time, McKenna. I feel like we could just like keep talking about this all night long just because it's so good. It's like, oh yeah, what about this or what about this? So as
Yep.
things come
I
up,
appreciate
we'll
it so
we'll
much.
put them on the stories for people because I think everyone benefits from just listening and being reminded of how are you spending your time? What are you doing with your life? And like, are you joyful? And that doesn't mean life's not hard, but Yeah. So, Kenna, thank you for your example, for the life you live. I mean, it's so cool to hear people pivot their life stories and deal with uncertainty, but still move forward with your perspective. Like, that is power and strength. So, thanks for sharing with us today.
We are all doing our best. Thanks, Nat.
Yeah. We'll post this on my Instagram so you can hear some of the quotes. I'll write them out and learn more about McKenna on her socials. Probably I'll tag you there and see her fun adventures. And we'll talk to you guys all next week. Adios.